Hey there, everybody. Welcome into this edition of ESPN FC Extra Time.
The last thing came out of his mouth before that nonsense was, right, let's be professional. And then he comes out with all this sort of nonsense.
I'm sorry, you're saying that was unprofessional?
Hey
This
there,
is like a comedy show or something, a chat show.
Some might call that my signature move.
the signature. Hey.
Yeah, could be your last move if you keep it
Yeah,
up.
all right. Ale, Stevie, Sidlow with us as we take a look at your questions here. First one coming from Craig's bleached blonde hair.
Ooh.
Stevie, how much glee did you have watching England get totally outplayed by Hungary?
I thought somebody was winding me up when they told me, because I didn't actually watch it at the time.
Are you regretting that decision now? You would have liked to watch that live, wouldn't you?
No, not really.
No?
Just seen the score lines enough.
Not really?
4-0 at home. Thank you very much. Saved myself an hour and a half.
And it's a runaway 4-0.
Oh, what?
Yeah. And you think Hungary scores the first goal and it's like, all right, hey, okay, this is going to make it for an exciting game, but eventually England is going to come back. Nope. It got worse and worse
Yes.
and worse and worse.
Speaking of getting worse, the weather in the U.S.-El Salvador game last night. This question from Natum's interior decorator. After watching the USA-El Salvador game and that horrible mud patch they played on, have you, Stevie, or Ale played on a pitch that was that bad either for your club or on international duty somewhere? Sid, have you ever reported on a game where the pitch was as awful? Why don't we go to Sid here?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of I've seen games where the pitch has been completely soaked, but not really muddy, not in that sense of having no surface. All the way through this season, it is true that managers have complained about the pitch at Rayo Vallecano all the way through the season, and you go down to it pitch and it's small and it's churned up a bit, but it's nothing like the kind of pitches we saw in the 80s and the 90s. Even the bad pitches now are generally speaking pretty good.
That's what I was going to say, Stevie. Like, from your era, were you bothered by last night?
No, definitely in the 70s there was fields like that. But I don't remember in the 80s playing on fields like that. You know, the biggest problems generally were towards the end of the season when they got rock hard. I don't remember playing as
That field was just waterlogged. Like, too much rain had come down in the 24 hours beforehand, and that field couldn't handle it.
And
yeah.
And in my case, it wasn't so much weather, but in terms of awful conditions to play in, you think of summer matchups in Dallas when the Cotton Bowl was getting redone.
On the old turf.
So we had to play at Dragon Stadium in
South Lake Carroll, yes, the high school.
And so the turf was black in the end zones, if I remember this correctly.
They're black and green.
Yes,
The colors.
man. And you feel like you're getting cooked from below. Like you feel like a broccoli. You feel like you're getting, like you're steaming, right? And to the point to where we got back to the locker room. I'm not making this up. This is not an exaggeration. The bottom of the shoes that we're all wearing were melting. So the cleats were melting away from the shoe. And you're thinking, this is not right. So it may not be rain all over the place. It may not be a mud bath, but we were miserable.
You would take mud over that?
I'll take mud over that. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
You settle for that over the heat.
Yeah.
And over the hard, dry,
That old turf.
rock hard ground.
Yeah.
You take that mud any day of the week.
In fact, to be honest,
And enjoy it.
Yeah, it was fun. The idea of starting your slide tackle at midfield and almost ending up in the top of the 18-yard box, I think there is something playful about that. And to me, it takes me back to sort of childhood games.
Sid, is Real Madrid a perfect example of how a club does proper business on and off the field? I mean, to be the only club to come out of the pandemic in profit and then to transition a team from an old guard to a new one as it is currently doing so now, all while winning titles. What do you think, Sid?
Well, I mean, it's certainly true that you look at this season as what should have been a transitional season, and they've ended up winning the league and the Champions League. It's only the fourth time in their history that they've won that league and European double. So, one of the very, very best seasons they've had. I think it is true that they dealt with the pandemic by being very cautious, by a policy of austerity. That was partly, of course, because they were building towards the signing of Mbappe, and so that they knew there was something, if you like, to kind of put the money towards. And then not getting Mbappe perhaps releases some of the funds for others. dollars. But it goes beyond that. It goes towards Vinicius, who cost 45 million euros, which looks like a lot of money for an 18-year-old, but it looks like it's coming good. Rodrigo costs a lot of money for a teenager, but it looks like that's coming good. That's not to say there aren't errors in there. I think they overspent, of course, on Hazard, and that hasn't paid off at all. There's been one or two other players. Ceballos hasn't really been as good as they hoped. Iyarramendi wasn't quite as good as they hoped. We've not really seen very much from Odriozola, who's just, of course, been on loan and will come back again. But I think that, yes, there's been a clarity, there's been a policy that they followed, and they haven't chased players that they sort of really don't need. I think in that sense they've managed it very well. I mean, look, I'm not the person to tell you this. The director of finances at La Liga, when he was talking through the club's salary limits and the way that clubs have managed things in a recent conference call with a big group of us journalists, was asked about Real Madrid, and he basically said they're an absolute example of how you deal with a situation like this, and they've come out of it in a very, very good place indeed.
And they built a stadium.
And they built a stadium during this.
And they built a stadium during this. Just ask Arsenal, how many years did they use that as an excuse? Well, we put all the money in the stadium.
Spurs.
Have a look at Real Madrid.
Riley, the big golden doodle asks, Ale and Stevie, what's your take on the old MLS penalty format? Did you like it?
No.
No?
No.
There was a certain sort of gimmicky aspect to it, and yeah, it made it unique, and it attracted attention, and eyes were on the league because of it, but it was very gimmicky. It was very sort of, this is not quite the level of play and that you expect at the elite level. This is not quite professional. This seems something different. It's entertaining, but it's entertaining, but it's not conducive to, I think, an actual proper evaluation of the league.
Well, there's two things. The first thing is, why are you making it as difficult as you can? Because it's not easy. Everybody says, well, you just pick the ball up the halfway, run at the goalie. Why can't you score? I'd take a penalty kick over doing that any day of the week.
Right.
And the other thing is, because it's so difficult, there's not that many people that can do it. And so...
It's a lot of saves. It was a lot of saves.
Well, and there's a lot of embarrassment as well. And then you've got the nonsense about the time.
What's worse, missing a one-on-one or missing a penalty?
Missing a one-on-one.
Really?
Aye.
You agree?
I would rather take a penalty any day of the week.
Striker, you agree?
Well, I think both of them are unnatural.
Right, but which is more humiliating, like to miss that one-on-one or to miss a penalty?
I tell you what would be humiliating, when you're dribbling and the dribble gets away from you, now the goalkeeper jumps on and you didn't even get a chance to take a shot on goal. That's humiliating.
And there was a time limit too, right? There was
Absolutely. So that you had to move with certain speed.
Yeah.
And I think I might have knocked you off a question you were going to ask. From the rest of the world,
the perception of
the perception of it was complete and utter gimmick,
right?
And only in America, which did not help how the rest of the world looked at American football.
Yeah, how can we take this seriously?
Right.
When they're doing this.
Probably some leftovers of that still to this day when you talk about like the perception of MLS globally. Ale, if you were a goalie in a shootout, what antics would you use to rattle your opponent? And as a player, did you ever do something crazy to get an advantage? Of course, following Australia, Peru in the penalty shootout.
Well, I think my level of distraction to the player who's about to take the penalty would be more about talking than it would be running around and jumping around side to side. As we discussed in the show when that was happening, I think it takes away from the ability of the goalkeeper to set and actually push off to actually get to a well-taken penalty. I don't think if you take the penalty well towards the corner that you can generate enough power to push off and get to that ball, because you're too busy doing all the other nonsense. So my approach would be a lot more like
Emiliano Martinez?
Like Emi Martinez.
Yeah.
That sort of
Argentina's
thing.
goalie,
That sort of thing. The talking. And I would do my homework in figuring out not only what the tendencies of these players are as to where they take the penalty, but I would do background information. I would
ex-girlfriend's names.
I would dig in deep into things that in the moment would throw them off. It's like, what?
How does he know that?
What are you talking about?
Oh, license plates, stuff like that.
No.
No, you got to go deep. You got to go deep into the personal. Yeah.
Something that would get his attention.
Family.
Something that you just throw out there and he'd be like, wait a minute. If he knows that, does that mean that somebody else knows this?
Yeah.
All right, James asks, for the
Gotta
guys,
prepare for it.
who would you rather have heading into this World Cup to lead your nation? Gareth Bale or Harry Kane?
Hold on. Is this a serious question?
Ask N7 James 22.
Well, N7 James 22. If you think anybody is going to go with Gareth Bale, you need your brains looking up.
Okay. Ale, you agree?
You have to trust Harry Kane over Gareth Bale. But that doesn't take away from the fact that somehow for Wales, Gareth Bale is, he rises from the dead and he's capable of putting together an incredible performance.
If the choice was Gareth Bale or Gareth Bale, then it would be Gareth Bale.
Yeah.
Thank you for that,
And the fact that there's somebody else's name next to it eliminates Gareth Bale.
Yes. For Ale and Sid, who are you guys taking between prime Fernando Torres and prime David Villa? Sid.
Ooh. Oh, by the way, I'm still laughing at the idea that Ali's saying the best way to put a player off is do his background, and Steve says, what, his number plate? I just love this idea of sidling up to a player who's about to take a penalty and saying, 5708 FCR. Oh, mate, honestly.
Well, here's the thing.
Why is it a little Skoda? Is it a little Skoda?
Remember anyway, but whose car's that? He's on about.
For sake of clarity, I did not bring up the license plate. It was Stevie's idea.
That would creep me out. Like, they're coming for me.
That's what I'm saying. I know. I love the idea that this is it. And by the way, it would work. Imagine how freaked out you'd be if you're about to take a
100%.
penalty in a big World Cup game, and a guy sidles up to you and he knows the number plate of your car.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, even worse if he sidles up to you and he knows the number plate of your wife's car and your children's car and
That's
the whole
the power
family.
move, right? Yeah.
Social security numbers.
So what was the actual question? Sorry.
Fernando Torres or David Villa? Who are you going with in their
that's
prime?
right.
In their prime.
The very, very top level of Fernando Torres for those first 18 months at Liverpool, I think just about top it.
Ale?
I fully agree. The physicality of Fernando Torres when he was at his best, along with his skill set, this guy in the Premier League that we talk about, hey, strong, big center defenders, people were bouncing off of him. He was unstoppable for that period of time.
Stevie, the last time I asked you, you said you wouldn't go to United for any money. But what if it was an Mbappe-sized offer? And don't just say no. It could have changed your entire life. Maybe even a brand new suit.
Well, I'm still going to say no, because the fact is, if somebody like United are going to offer me that amount of money, there's a good chance that somebody else.
No one else is offering you. No one else is offering you anywhere close to that money.
That makes no sense.
Well, they know they got to buy your loyalty because you're so loyal.
If it's a choice of 10 bob or 1 million, then you're going to take the million.
Okay.
I just have to get a.
So you're going to Manchester United.
I'd have to get a Inspector Clouseau disguise going on so that nobody knew it was me when I was playing.
What would that look like on the field? You just wear it.
What? I'd have to take the glasses off, obviously, but I'd have the big nose and the beard.
Shave your head again?
Shave my head.
Yeah, do that haircut. No one recognized it. The 2-3? The 2-3?
Yeah, the 3. What was it, 4 and a 3?
I think it was like 1 and a 2. All right, I think that's all the questions we got.
Oh.
Always a fun time. Sid, appreciate you staying up late.
Oh.
Ale and Stevie, appreciate you staying late.
Pleasure.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.